I am inspired um, from um, the highest viewpoint that I can have as of now. I know that I come from God and that I descended onto the earth to teach myself uh, the superhuman. And I know from um, my deepest thoughts that my higher self created monsters so that he might conquer them in thought. And to be spiritual is very difficult. It is the most difficult thing because you have to conquer your own darkness. And Hegel taught me that spirit has the strength to incorporate negativity within himself. And I hope that he is right, because if he's not, then I'm in a lot of trouble. But spirit is that which has the strength to maintain its identity to itself within its own negation. And I have a conflict within me between this empirical individual and what I call my higher self, and I must solve the contradiction. And I will continue commenting on The Lightning and the Sun by Savitri Devi. She talks about the coming destroyer, which will enable the bringing forth of a new age of truth. It is the one that the Hindu call Kalki, whose advent is the condition of preservation of life. And I am afraid of myself because I know that there is a destructive, negative part within myself, but I also know that I need to negate the negative, to talk like Hegel. And she says that we believe that man's value is not in the mere intellect, but in the spirit. And spirit for Hegel is that which is within itself, outside of itself. And that's why spiritual communities seek a union of all the members of the community in a spiritual oneness. And the more you can incorporate negation within your mind, the more you are spiritual. And spirit is that which is timeless and above time. And Hegel agrees that spirit is eternal. Only the body perishes, and spirit maintains its eternal identity with itself. She says that the capacity to reflect the divine is closely linked with man's race and physical health. She says that spirit is not independent from the body. That's a very spiritual view, is that the soul, or the spirit, but that more precisely the soul, is incarnated within a body. And the suffering of the body is the suffering of the soul, and also the strengthening of the soul. And yeah. She says that sincere thought, real free thought, ready in the name of superhuman authority or of humble common sense, and means to question the basis of what is officially taught and generally accepted, and it is less and less likely to thrive in this day and age. And as a personal empirical individual, I have not had any formal education since the age of 17. I've learned by myself in a way, but I just incorporated the ideas of others, but I have no background in philosophy or in any science or whatever. I just gathered knowledge from the books that I read. That's why I'm so confused and so contradictory sometimes, and I lack the formal training of a professional philosopher. But what learning philosophy on the way, on the to be plunged into reality, and to learn as things come, and to build your own system, which is not my own system, it's reason working through me. But in order to make something your own, you have to build it for yourself in a way. That's why, if I might be, I don't know, but Hegelian scholars cannot understand Hegel, because Hegel is the negation of himself, and you have to negate the formal aspect of Hegel, and build Hegel and Hegel's system for yourself. And this is true Hegelianism. And the best Hegelian scholars that I can think of are Alexander Maggi, who had an heterodox view of Hegel by looking in the spiritual hermetic path of Hegel, and he had a fantastic view of Hegel. And there's a French scholar called Jean Clet Martin, who wrote books about Hegel and science fiction, Hegel and criminal intrigue of philosophy. And these books are fantastic, because he's an heterodox, he's a kind of a lunatic. He went his own path, and he was true to himself, and he understood Hegel better than anyone else. And there's another, David Koenig, he's a French, who made books about Hegel and Jacob Boehme and mysticism, and he has a very great understanding of Hegel. So the classical, this is connected to what Savitri Devi says, that a classical formal training prevents you from acquiring the deep truth. And the reason why the educational system in America, the high school and universities, is so full of garbage is because there's a conflict within God, which is the whole of reality, between ignorance and knowledge, and there's a will to remove the knowledge and to acquire the knowledge, and that's conflicting. And that's why those who go through the formal process of higher education, they are rewarded in a way, because they can enjoy higher standards of living and have good wages and whatever. But at the same time, they lack a real spiritual depth. And those who go to the unorthodox path, who become self-educated, they are rewarded in another kind of wisdom, and they access higher truth. So they may not have the prestige and the social status, but they have the wisdom. So there's some sort of balance, and in the end, the higher formally trained, educated people and those with no background must be reconciled. And that's German idealism, as expounded by Schelling or Hegel in the oldest system of German idealism. The real advantage of universal literacy is to tighten the grip of the governing power upon the foolish and conceited millions. So the so-called primitive peoples who have no developed division of labor, who have no industry, technology, who are living in so-called primitive conditions, the highly intelligent, educated, formally trained members of Western societies, they admire them and they envy them in a way, because they live in harmony with nature. And I'm not fantasizing about their living conditions, because real serious anthropological studies shows that there are crimes and violence and oppression even within the so-called egalitarian, primitive, heavenly societies of Amazonia or wherever. So I'm not fantasizing about them, but I'm just saying that they have a higher consciousness of the fullness and wholeness of being, whereas the most intelligent, educated CEOs or lawyers of America, Western Europe, they have a very high IQ, they are very intelligent, literate, but their life is empty. And the whole process of Hegel's philosophy is to reconcile the intuitive feeling of the wholeness of being with the negative moment of the abstract understanding. And that's why I am attempting to reconcile the primitive knowledge and the mechanistic industrial Anglo-Saxon view of things. And this is the truth, is the unity of both, and this is the most difficult task, because it's always easier to take one side, but God is on no one's side, because he is both sides, and that's the most difficult idea to accept. But yeah, she talks about extra individual matters which to us really count. So my most difficult task is to transcend my individualistic, selfish will to remain an empirical individual, and to jump towards the infinite, and to reconcile myself with the one true individuality, which is world spirit at work. And I know that this is the most difficult task, because we are all I'm trying to put the blame on others, whereas it's not really fair, but I am selfish, but God is also selfish, but it's a higher sense of selfishness. It's a super individualistic perspective, and the will to negate the lower self in order to unite with the higher self is the most difficult task. And I know that I will fail in the way, but I will do my best, which is the enlightened part within me, to reconcile both aspects. And then she says, Savitri Devi is so spiritual, because from an external perspective, one might think, oh, that's just a racist, neo-Nazi, crazy woman. But she has a profound admiration for the non-Aryan peoples. She admits at some point that the Arabs are a beautiful people because they have a noble soul. And she talks about the people that literal-minded far-right extremists would consider inferior, but she sees the beauty as being the reflection of the cosmic being which produced all things. And think about Leni Riefenstahl. She made videos about black Africans because she recognized the inherent beauty in the strength and the beauty in the purity. That's kind of ironic, but in the purity of blacks, because the most difficult job is to love things and love being as it is. And it's not a blind, that's my point of view, it's not a blind acceptance of, oh, all things are made of God, we should love it. No, it's a full conceptual understanding, and to learn to appreciate beauty in what you at first don't like and even despise is the most difficult task, but it's the path towards spiritual elevation. And spiritual people are not black or white. It's not simple one-sided view. And Savitri Devi, she is much more complex, much more contradictory, but in a good sense, in the sense that she overcomes the contradictions, and she is very profound. And yeah, so yeah, I will stop there for now, but yeah.